if needed, you can work on some medication things to help with that. But really, it's prioritizing protein, building muscle just to help with that insulin sensitivity.
Yeah. Welcome to Mojo Co, the podcast for unapologetic midlife women who are done playing small, done guessing, and done fighting their body instead of understanding it. I'm your host, Katie Fleece, and this podcast is for women who are ready to get their mojo back, their confidence, their power, and the connection to their body back. We talk hormones, confidence, body image, relationships, and real life with zero filters and absolutely no BS. Nothing is off limits here. If you're ready to feel powerful in your body again and remember who the heck you are, you're exactly where you belong. Let's go. Welcome back to Mojo Co Podcast. Sarah, you're back today. Can't get enough of me.
That's exactly what it is.
All right, so we're going to talk all about insulin, which there's a million things to talk about insulin. I've learned so much from you about it. Lots to learn. So let me start off with this. Like, what is insulin resistance and why does it matter? Why should we care?
Yeah, so insulin resistance is a big, I would say, like kind of buzzword right now. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's finally getting a lot more information about it. So to even take it a step back, insulin is like the key that gets glucose into our cells. Okay. So glucose is the body's like main source of energy. So what happens is insulin comes to the cell, unlocks it, opens the door, and then glucose can get in. So what happens with insulin resistance is that like lock and key doesn't work as well. So it's either the lock doesn't work or the door doesn't open as much, and then we can't get the glucose into the cell. And that matters because if our cells don't have glucose, then we can't be creating energy, and all of our metabolic processes start to slow down when we don't have that glucose in the cell for energy.
Is there a specific age where you start seeing women in particular like become more insulin resistant or not really?
Yeah, so it's not as much a specific age as it is like with their hormonal patterns.
Yeah.
So typically mid-30s when we start this like perimenopause shift, as estrogen starts to decline is when that insulin key stops listening as well. So it tends to happen mid-30s, early 40s based on those hormone changes.
Right. Not necessarily based on age, but
Correct.
Based on hormones.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I know obviously I think a lot of people think of insulin and they automatically think of like diabetes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you have insulin resistance without being diabetic?
Yeah, and that's a great point. That is when we tend to hear about insulin. Insulin resistance is actually the precursor to a diabetic state. So this can happen, studies show up to 10 years before you ever get a diabetic diagnosis. So in diabetes and in pre-diabetes is when blood sugar gets too high. That's how that's diagnosed. But before that, insulin will start to rise in order to keep blood sugar normal. So blood sugar can still look normal, but pancreas and insulin are working harder and cranking out more insulin in order to keep that blood sugar low. So you will absolutely be insulin resistant before it ever shows up as a blood sugar issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people even know to like get their insulin checked to even
That's exactly right.
Prepare for things like that.
And it's not a standard lab that's checked. It's usually you wait until a blood sugar change, which is A1C is how we diagnose diabetes, and that's blood sugar over 3 months. But if you're already to that point, that's like further along in the disease progression. Yeah. You've got to catch it when the insulin starts rising to keep sugars where they should be. And insulin as a molecule, and we can get more into this, is a storage molecule. Its job is to store glucose in the cell, but it also stores fat. So that's why at the same age, women start to store more fat because their insulin is rising. And insulin's job is to store.
Yeah. Okay. So then how do you know if you're insulin resistant? Is it only through blood test?
So blood test is the best way.
Okay.
But some of the common symptoms are that increased abdominal fat. You just feel fatigued all the time because your blood sugar is not getting in to create energy. A lot of those just metabolic shifts of like, I don't feel like myself, body composition's changing. It's harder for me to put on muscle. I'm getting more body fat. Those are kind of the symptoms that would alert me to want to look at an insulin level. But truly just a fasting insulin, which is like a $1 lab draw. Like it's super cheap, super easy. Is the best way to check it.
Okay. So can your blood sugar still be normal?
Yeah.
While insulin resistance is happening?
That's exactly right. So that's why you have to check the insulin also. You can't just look at blood sugar, which is glucose on the lab. Because it will continue to climb because it's doing its job of keeping blood sugar low or normal. But insulin will climb in the background before it ever shows up as high sugar.
What makes someone insulin resistant? So like, I know you said hormones.
Yeah.
So like what exactly with the hormones causes that insulin resistance?
So as the estrogen starts to decline, insulin has a harder time getting glucose into the cell.
Okay.
So it just prevents it from like locking into the key and then opening the door. So like the analogy that I always like is if it's typically the insulin lets in 2 glucoses, then maybe an insulin resistance, it only lets in 1. So it's less efficient.
Okay.
It's still getting some in there at this point, but it's just way less efficient. So then you've got all this sugar in your blood, which causes inflammation and fat storage and all those things. And then your body puts out more insulin to kind of try to push that in.
Yeah.
But it just needs more and more. It's just this whole cascade that leads to diabetes.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how can you like if you get a blood test, it's like, okay, I'm insulin resistant or resistant or whatever. How can you treat that so it doesn't turn into diabetes 10 years from now? Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to go about it. Hormones can help if you are to a point that you need that and if it's appropriate for you. Yeah. But one of the biggest things you can do is put on muscle. If you increase muscle, so strength training, protein intake, that will help your insulin sensitivity, which is the opposite of insulin resistance. It helps insulin get that sugar into the cells more efficiently. So just increasing metabolic health, which is like muscle is just the currency of aging. It's like the best thing we can do. The fountain of youth. 100%. Yep. Yes. Yep. So if you can just crank on that muscle, it helps with insulin sensitivity a ton. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of muscle. Yeah. And we obviously know that is also tied to fat loss. So why is it that it seems so much harder to lose fat during this phase of life? Yeah, and it absolutely is. I think a lot of times maybe that's just like, oh, it just seems that way, but it 100% is. So it's twofold. Estrogen starts to go down. Okay. So our body is smart. Our body wants estrogen. So in our fat cells is estriol, which is a type of estrogen. Yep. So our body adds on more fat to try to get in estrogen somehow, somewhere. And the other one is as that estrogen declines, insulin resistance goes up. Insulin is inflammatory and it's a storage molecule. Yeah. So it will also pack on extra fat. And it's not just the subcutaneous fat, which is like the fat right under the skin. It's like a deep visceral fat that's around the organs. Yep. And that's what leads to metabolic issues like heart attack, obesity, increased risk for all sorts of different diseases. Wow. It's truly just because of the hormonal changes of this phase of life. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Much, it's a lot. It's fun being a woman, and it's just the best, right? All right, quick pause to talk about my company, Mojo Co, because this deserves a moment. Mojo Co was built for midlife women who feel off in their body and are just tired of being told to eat less, move more, and deal with it, all right? Women battling hormones, belly fat that comes out of nowhere, low energy, mood swings, and the constant feeling of, why do I not feel like myself anymore? Now look, this is not a basic fitness program, and it is definitely not built by gym bros or 20-year-old influencers. Mojo Co was built for women, by women, designed specifically for this phase of life. Inside, we don't guess, we don't punish your body, and we don't hand you another plan that you gotta figure out on your own. We look at the full picture: hormones, metabolism, stress, lifestyle, everything that you need, all under one roof. Because you are never too old to get your mojo back. I can assure you that. And you also need support from someone that actually understands the female body at this stage of life. So if you're ready to feel strong, sexy, clear-headed, and confident again in your body, and you're done with all of the free or cheap BS out there and you want a forever solution, you can apply by clicking the link in the show notes. All right, now let's get back to it. Okay, so talk to me then about, because I know that insulin can have a hand in affecting things like energy, things like that. So why is that?
Yeah. So it goes back to just getting glucose into the cell.
Okay.
So glucose is our number one energy source. That's what our body wants to make ATP, like back to high school biology. Yeah. And if it doesn't have enough glucose into the cell, we're not making ATP. So then everything slows down, right? It's like when you don't have enough food in your body, everything starts to slow down. So that's metabolism gets worse, which isn't great for anything. Brain fog is a big symptom of this.
Big thing.
Yeah, because the brain uses so much sugar in order to function. Yeah. And if we don't have glucose, the brain slows down. So that's brain fog, memory, those sorts of things. And putting on muscle is a huge decrease when you're insulin resistant.
All of those things are affected or can be affected by insulin.
Yeah.
That is crazy because I feel like so many people don't realize that.
Correct.
Actually.
Yep.
Wow.
And then it's wild that for type 2 diabetics, the way we treat them is give them insulin. Right, which is just causing more inflammation and more obesity and more, right?
Wow.
Like it's just, it's a really interesting just like cascade.
Cycle.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay. So why do kind of going back to the strength training, why do our routines of like our health and fitness, our fitness and nutrition routines, I should say, why do they have to change during this menopausal phase of life?
Yeah. So when you're, 20 years old, you can jump on the treadmill for 20 minutes and your body's like happy as can be.
I'm good.
Like, we're great. I'm out. But if we do that now, that's going to deplete our glucose storages so quickly. Like we're just going to bust through all the sugar that we do have, which still isn't enough. And that's not really putting on the muscle. It's that muscle that we need in order to increase metabolism. So we're burning more calories all the time. And then also increase that insulin sensitivity. Yeah. So that our cells are happier because they're getting more of that glucose into it. And it's just got to be that shift of more protein, more muscle.
Yep. So speaking of nutrition, so like, are there certain things to stay away from if you are insulin resistant? And is there certain things to really try to increase in your diet to kind of combat that?
Yeah. So when I see patients that have this insulin resistance, I prioritize protein with them constantly. As long as they're getting in enough protein and they're meeting their calorie goals, I really don't care the rest of the balance. Sugar's not the enemy. Sugar is and I don't mean like you're just chowing down on like gummy bears all day.
Right.
Sugar is in carbohydrates and simple sugars.
Right.
But our body needs that in order to produce energy. Right. But the top main priority with everyone is protein. You've got to get it in.
Got to get it in. Got to get it in. Sounds familiar.
So that's what I've been told.
Okay, so calories in, calories out.
Yep.
We hear that all the time.
Yep.
Everybody and their bro says it on the internet. Like, it's really that simple.
It's so simple.
Is it really that simple?
Or we wouldn't be here.
Right, exactly. Okay, so explain that and why that's not always the equation for women in this phase of life.
Yeah, so if that were the case, just calories in, calories out, then if I ate 100 calories a week, I would just wither away and die. But my body's not going to let me, right? Our body is smart. Our body will go into survival mode.
Yes.
So if we're always, and the other thing is you can't always be in a calorie deficit.
Yep.
If you're always starving yourself at 1,100 calories a day for 10 years, your body's going to pack on fat because it thinks you're not going to feed it.
Right.
Right? So your body is just going to go into that survival mode of like, I have to hold on to everything. Once you start fueling your body appropriately, is when your body's like, oh, okay, we're here to optimize. We're not just here to survive, right? So calories in, calories out. If all of your calories are carbohydrates, you're going to burn through them real quick. It's a quick energy source. We do need some, but you're going to burn through them. You're going to be hungry all the time. If you get protein in, this is slower to digest. Belly's going to feel full longer. And with that protein, you're going to be able to put on muscle. Which again is going to improve your metabolic health. It's going to decrease insulin resistance. So you need to be aware of calories, but I'm much more concerned with the breakdown of your calories versus just calories in, calories out, which is such a misnomer.
Right.
Especially at this phase of life. Right. When we're trying to like build healthy bodies.
Yes.
Not just like deplete everything we have.
Right. Exactly. Calories are important.
100%.
Very important. Yes. But it is not just as simple as, And
it's interesting, the conversation I find myself having with most women is you need more calories. You're literally starving yourself. And this is why you're exhausted.
So common.
This is why you have insulin resistance. All of these things, you don't have enough calories and you don't have enough protein.
Yeah.
And then women start eating for real and they're like, oh, that feels better.
Well, not only that does it feel better, but how many people have we even seen that start eating more and they're like, oh my, how am I losing weight?
Correct.
They're like, honey.
In a good way, losing fat.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, my body looks better. I feel better. Yeah, it's so fun.
Okay, so I'm going to totally jack this one up, okay?
Let's go.
So just bear with me here. I've heard you talk about, is it HOMA?
Yep, HOMA IR.
Okay, so what is that? Is it useful?
Yep. So HOMA IR is a calculation, a function of fasting glucose and fasting insulin.
Okay.
So this is what we use to diagnose insulin resistance. That IR at the end is insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So you factor those two numbers together and then it gives you a value.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is used to truly diagnose insulin resistance. So that is a good way to follow, like, am I getting more insulin sensitive? Is my body doing a better job? So that's why I draw fasting insulin on everybody that I see.
Yeah.
So we can use that value. I think it's the best tool there is to truly see insulin resistance.
Yeah.
To see what's going on. How much insulin do you have compared to how much glucose do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Those should line up, but as you get resistant, insulin creeps up higher.
Yeah.
Because it's having a hard time getting that glucose in.
And it's important to do it fasted.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Because anything you eat, if I have a donut in the morning, my sugar is going to spike, but my insulin hasn't caught up yet.
Okay.
So we just want them at like baseline. Yeah. Yep. So those are done fasting.
Okay. All right, girl. So to wrap this whole insulin talk up, let's just wrap it up. Like, what actually works for women? What actually works really well?
So I think the first thing you got to do is get the information. So I think a good blood draw, fasting, like you said, get with a clinician that understands HOMA IR and that understands that whole pre-diabetic process. Yeah. It's not done well in traditional medicine. And that's just the way the system is right now. They just don't have time to do it, in all honesty. So you've got to find somebody that's trained in how to see those things and what to do with it.
Yeah.
Once you figure that out, then there's a few different ways you can go. The biggest things really, though, are just lifestyle. Yep. So prioritizing protein is the biggest thing that I tell people. Strength training to increase that muscle mass. And then from there, if needed, you can work on some medication things to help with that. All sorts of different options for inflammation. But really, it's prioritizing protein, building muscle just to help with that insulin sensitivity. Yeah. And then that overall brings down inflammation throughout the body. Yes. Decreases fat. Helps brain fog, helps cardiac health. Yeah. It's just a whole package that comes all together.
Yeah. Well, and that's, it's amazing to see like how many people just almost like feel that inflammation leaving their body. Yes. When they get this under control. Yeah. It's pretty incredible.
And it's so easy to check in. Yeah. It's such a straightforward concept. Well, maybe not straightforward concept, but it makes sense. Right? Yeah. Right. And once you figure that out, you're like, oh yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Protein and strength training.
That'll do it.
Who would have thunk it, right?
Yep.
All right, friends. Well, until next time, catch you on another episode of Mojo Co.